Despite Thor being one of the main Avengers, it's kind of surprising to see how far he's gone as a character. Like in Thor 1, he started off as an arrogant mass murderer, and in Thor Love and Thunder, he's just kind of one of the guys who's also socially awkward around women, who also really only has one or two real friends, who also, anyways, a lot of people did not like what Taika did with him. So much so that some people are calling this worse than The Dark World, which, if you didn't know, is the worst MCU movie agreed upon by everyone. But those claims got me thinking, is Thor The Dark World really that bad? And how does it compare to the other Thor movies? So welcome to Blue Jay talks about everything Thor has been through as a character as of 2022, including Thor Love and Thunder spoilers. So let's get started. We start at the beginning with Thor the First. Honestly, this movie was pretty unmemorable to me, but upon rewatch, as an introductory film to all the characters, it actually does a pretty solid job. Thor's arc of being more humble and recognizing that humans are something to sacrifice his life over is a really simple arc, but it's really well executed, especially how it contrasts to his brother Loki. But quick side note before I talk about him, I want to mention the cool side characters. Like, despite the fact that he hasn't showed up after Age of Ultron, Dr. Eric Selvig is my boy. It's nice how he learns to trust Thor, and you can really tell that he cares a lot about Jane. There's also Darcy, which could have definitely bordered on annoying, but is actually really funny. And although she didn't really do that much, it was kind of cool seeing her back in WandaVision. There's also Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, which I don't think counts as a character, but Thor is really attached to it. And him being able to wield it means that he's worthy. Basically meaning that he's a good person and he's a hero. Lastly, of the side characters, there's the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif. They don't really do much in the story besides telling Thor that Odin is alive, but I feel it's essential in the movie to show that Thor actually does have friends and is a likable person. Like, it's cool seeing Thor's relationships besides the one with his father and his brother. Speaking of which, Loki is really good in this film. He's the son of Odin, but second born, so he feels that he's always in the shadow of Thor. So although his plan is low-key kinda convoluted, he's such a great villain because besides everything he's done, his brother and father still love him dearly. Literally the best scene in the movie is Loki confronting Odin about him being a frost giant, and the movie ends with Loki dying, which, if you didn't know, gets reversed immediately in the next film. Let's talk about Avengers, one of the most innovative films of the time. But they didn't really do that much with Thor. Like, yeah, Loki is the villain again, but the only real scenes we get with them is Thor basically being, "Brother, stop this, stop being petty," and then Loki just kind of stabs him. Like, that's the extent of everything that happened. Although Loki is now in prison in Asgard and Thor is now an Avenger, and that stuff is important for future films, such as Thor The Dark World. So before talking about this film, I kind of want to re-mention that everyone hates it. Like, I've seen people say that it's boring, not really worth your time, but honestly, it's actually kind of good. Like, sure, the villain sucks, but the Loki stuff has been better than ever, and Darcy is even funnier now. Like, I get it. It's a bit bland at times, but like, focus on the Loki stuff. Focus on the Warriors 3. Focus on this random guy Darcy has as an intern, which, side note, never showed up ever again. And also this guy, which went out on a date with Jane Foster, and he got kinda stood up. Like, she showed up, but then just left. Like, I get Thane or Jor is endgame, but like, poor guy, honestly, like, later in the movie, he even called Shane back and he was like, "Hey, even though you left, I still had fun. You want to do it again?" And like, she had Thor just right next to him, and she was like, "Oh yeah." Like, I don't know. They just kind of showed up once and they're gone forever now. Anyways, the plot of the film is that Jane sticks her hand into a rock, and the ether/reality stone sticks itself in her. And on the other side of the galaxy, there are these evil dark elves who want the ether to turn the universe into eternal darkness. So the movie is just pretty much Thor protecting Jane. Honestly, it's kind of boring. The final battle is meh. But the plot does lead to Thor having to free Loki from prison and trust him on a dangerous mission that can destroy all of Asgard in the entire universe. And that right there is good drama. Pretty much how it goes in this film is that for a sec you think Loki betrays Thor, but actually it was just a plan to trick the Dark Elves. Loki almost dies but gets saved by his brother, and then he tries to save his brother but dies again. And that's all you really need to know about the film before Thor Ragnarok. Before Ragnarok, Thor was mostly a Shakespearean, formal kind of guy, but Ragnarok kind of made his character more jokey, which honestly was great because it made his character way more interesting, and the fans seemed to love it. Thor Ragnarok, without doubt, is the best Thor movie. What's most interesting about the movie is Loki. Loki no longer has hatred towards his brother, probably because he knows how much his brother cares about him, and also he got to rule, which is pretty much all he wanted. He likes his brother now, but he's still willing to do anything to come out on top, and we see that in the film. Loki tries to betray his brother, but it doesn't work this time. Thor has kind of given up on Loki. Not in the mean way where he was mad at Loki in Thor the Dark World, but more of a "you'll always be my brother, but you'll always be the god of mischief." He stops Loki by tasing him for like a solid 5 or 6 minutes, and then he goes off to stop Hela. Thor tries to 1v1 her, which doesn't really go that well because, you know, he gets his eye cut out, but in the heat of the battle, he learns that the power was always within him. He doesn't need Mjolnir to be powerful, because he is the god of thunder. He also learns that it's okay if Hela takes over Asgard. Asgard isn't the place, it's the people. But they still need to stop Hela, so he just kind of gets a more powerful being to destroy her, but at the same time, Asgard gets destroyed. But that's okay, because the people are still alive. Until infinity. Thor in Infinity War is at his worst. Not character-wise, he's at his best here, but emotionally wise. Thor is less jokey in this movie because he's just absolutely racked with anger. He's pretty much lost everything he cares about. His pain and suffering is perfectly shown in a conversation he has with Rocket, where Rocket asks about Thor emotionally, and it's just this kind of devastating conversation where Thor just says, "What more do I have to lose?" All Thor does this movie is in service to killing Thanos. That's why he tanks the entire power of the sun. That's why he goes to Nidavellir to get the axe, because he's gonna kill Thanos at all costs. And he almost does. Despite the fact that Thanos had all 6 Infinity Stones, he manages to get an axe in Thanos' chest, and he's just pushing it into him, savoring his revenge. But then,
you should have gone for the head.
half of the universe is now gone. Thanos won. The villain won. And it's kind of all of Thor's fault. 5 whole years pass until the Avengers figure out a plan to get everyone back. And when they go to get Thor, Thor is now in New Asgard, just wallowing in pain and in guilt. Thor's story is actually super tragic, and it kind of sucks how he's treated as a joke, because the way Thor tries to deal with depression and guilt is to just drown himself in food, and he doesn't really get that much sympathy. He actually gets made fun of. Really, the only thing the movie does for Thor is letting him talk with his dead mom. He gets to go back to 2013 and talk with Frigga, and Frigga hears him out and just comforts him. She tells him that it's okay that he messed up. All he has to do is continue to keep trying. Not just that, but he goes to call Mjolnir, and it comes to him, showing him that despite everything, Thor is still worthy. But then, Thor Love and Thunder ruined everything, is what I originally said. Hi! Post-editing Blue Jay here. Originally, I was gonna say that Thor Love and Thunder is a really bad movie that doesn't take itself seriously at all. But while making this video, I watched the movie for a third time, and it finally clicked. Love and Thunder isn't a bad movie. It just has a really bad ending. Originally, I had planned to say that Thor has no arc in this movie, but he actually does. He learns that it's okay for him to open his heart to Jane, even though he'll lose her someday, because it's better to have spent that time with her than to not have seen her at all. And honestly, that's a really good arc. But the thing is, the movie doesn't seem serious enough. All of the building blocks were there to make Jane's death tragic, but really, unless you really care about a character, them dying without having other characters mourn for them doesn't really have an effect on viewers. Originally, I was gonna end the video by saying I hope Thor movies get better, but really, this is actually not a bad movie. It's actually really entertaining, but they didn't let the serious stuff be serious. So instead of saying, I hope Thor movies get better, I just really hope that they learn from this movie and re-add emotional stakes to the MCU. This video is kind of one of my longer ones, but if you stuck around to the end, thank you for watching, and have a great day.